Hi Connor, we're back again and this is our product so far. I'm not going to change too much on this for the moment. We can always come back and add or subtract things or mess around with the bits and pieces later on. Maybe add more bars up here or you could think about all sorts of things. I'm not really happy with this bottom rail here. It seems to be floating in the middle of nowhere on that side, but makes sense over here. So what I think we should do, one thing I am going to fix, however, is these ones here because they cross over the mirror. And it doesn't really matter, but I think it's just sloppy. I think it just sort of looks like somebody hasn't put a lot of time and effort into it. So I'm just going to go to face select mode, and because I can't see, oh yeah, I can select the faces in under there. It's hidden behind the mirror. I'm just going to move it back a bit just till it connects. And this one, oh, I want to be very careful on the red. There she is, that's where it connects right there. And this one up here is the furthest. I can't select it. There it is. Just got those inside faces. And there she goes. That's as far back. Alright, so this is going to be an interesting one because what we're going to do is we are going to, first of all, sort of position some objects in a scene, and from that we're going to start looking about how we can put some textures on those objects so that it starts to look like the real world. First thing we want to do, I think, is just move this to a different layer because as on habit, I just sort of I put everything on different layers and I bring it all back together at the end. So I'm just going to change to object mode so we can move an object to a new layer. We've already got it selected and we could go object, move or M. So we'll go M. Oh, I'm noticing I don't have screencast on again. Fix that up. Always the screencast. There we go. Bang, hit that. That's what I want. Starts end. M for move. Alright, our free layers, if I look just down the bottom here, our free layers, I might just go to this one here. We'll say all the main objects seem to be across the top, so let's go M to move and third along, and she's gone. So all we're left with on this scene is our sun lamp. If you've added a sun lamp, it should have added a sun lamp. If we don't have a sun lamp, go create sun, move it up so that it sits above your scene. This is the direction of the light, so it'll cast shadows that way. And I think the first thing we need is a ground plane because we need something to put everything on. So we're going to put a ground plane right where we want it, right in the middle. I'm going to go Shift S, cursor to center because that's where we want our plane to appear, and then add a plane. Obviously, very, very small. Let's scale that up. Scale to about there. We might have already had a plane. If I look around at our layers, I bet you we already had a plane. Yeah, there's a plane right there underneath our first render. Interesting. Alright, I'm just going to delete that, right click on it and go X delete and go back to where the first layer, where the plane is I just put on it. Now, we are going to shape this plane in the not too distant future, but for the moment, I'm just going to scale it up a bit. Oh, wait, I'm going to select it. For the moment, we'll just put everything on a flat plane and then look at where we can shape it, because we'll put our tower here and our enclosure here, and then our fence maybe around the back or down the side or something like that. And then we will have a look at how we can move the ground around it to make it look bumpy, make it look a bit real. Over here, if we have a look at our pictures, he's standing on some sand, and this is a flat area that the enclosure this is on, and then you've got a hill going up here. So it might be the case that we could make a plane down here, sand, and a hill going up the back, maybe with some plants, I've got some ideas there, and maybe a fence along the top around there, and then maybe some more trees off in the background, but we might just grab a picture for that and superimpose, so we don't need to model anything like that. This one here is very similar. It's got sand underneath, it's very flat. I'm not sure what's in behind there. It looks like a big rock. That's another idea, but I think we can go a bit higher than that and see whether or not we can take up some of the space of our picture. It's always a good look. They've got mountains in the background. We could even find some of them. All right, let's go to it. This is the scene. Let's put in our tower. Now our tower is the second layer right here. So I hold down shift, it says visible layers, shift click to select multiple layers. Just as I hold my cursor over it says it just underneath. So if I hold down shift and I click on that, there's my tower in the scene. Now I'm going to get in our enclosure, shift click on the enclosure, and we can see instantly that our enclosure is in the middle of that area there. So we just move, that's the, I've got to select the enclosure and move it that way. Alright. Another thing I'm noticing about our enclosure, if we have a look at our picture has a big window facing the enclosure and a door on the side over there. But our modelling has a door on this side and a big window here. So let's rotate that. Now remember, our tower is both our tower and the roof. Although if we rotate it, that roof wouldn't look any different if we didn't rotate it. So I suppose it doesn't matter if we do or not, because that side's the same as that side. But I'm going to shift click on it and I'm going to go to rotate on the Z-axis, and I want exactly 90. So I'm going to type in 90. As I'm rotating, I'm still holding down, type 90, enter, and I've done a perfect 90-degree turn. So at our picture, I'm going to jump to a picture a bit. The tower seems to be inside. There doesn't seem to be much of a walkway there. It seems so close behind, so you can look out this window into the enclosure and they're all running around in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to move our tower inside while we've still got both selected. Now we're going to want to have the roof selected. Move it forward this way. Now what this is going to do is it's going to cover up a lot of our modelling, and it's a very that enclosure is way too small as I look at it. I'm going to scale that up. Now it is completely safe to scale it with S to scale. We're going to go all the axes, X, Y and Z. We don't want to mess around with this, otherwise we'll be squishing things up and it won't be very even at all. So mouse around here in a bit close, S, scale up. I reckon that should do it. Let's move that out a bit, and I'm just looking at the fences. Don't want, that's not too bad actually. The fence just disappears into the side there. Now I want to go down a bit. I'm just going to go down a little bit. S, down to about there. Move it in and see whether or not, so the window's getting blocked off. Look at that. That is frustrating. We needed to make our tower taller. That is really easy to do. We are going to select it, go into edit mode. Let's have a look at our tower. Let's stretch it up. Let's take all of these vertices here and move them to about here, so the window's a lot higher. The top of the door, now at top of our door is just there. I kind of want the door to stay where it is, but I don't know if I'm going to have much of a choice. I didn't think about it in relation to the thing. Maybe we'll get away with it. It just seems so, to have that window there, can't even see past that. Now I'm being really silly. I know, I have a fantastic idea. This is going to be brilliant. We are just going to move her up. No. See, this is what happens. If I go box select, and I take my window, I don't want all that. I'm going to go into Z wireframe, select there, just so that I've got something around the window selected. Go box select, box all that up. I haven't selected anything out the back. I've got to be very careful that I don't select anything other than my window frame. And then move it up a bit, and look what happens to my geometry. This is the problem with making a move like this late in the piece. I'm going to go back to solid view, and I get this angle on my geometry that I didn't really want, but it sort of solves my problem. It brings that up to there. The tower's still proportional. Should have had, maybe I could go a bit further. Now that I've done it, it seems silly not to. See, that looks alright. So you can see what you think about that one. It's just very important that when you're moving it, you've got all those faces there. So always make sure that when you're in wireframe mode, there's nothing behind you, because you'll select everything with box select. So I'm going to just hold your mouse over there and go B and get all of that bit there. Sometimes it's very hard to see. I'm finding it hard to see here for some reason. And you've got all of this is just mirror. You can't edit that. Anyway, alright, so that's okay. We've got that in the scene. Let's go back to solid view. Out of edit mode on this one. We don't want to change anything else. And let's go and get our fence. Our fence is on this last layer over here. I don't think we're going to lose the... Oh, I've just made a mess of that. Hold down shift, select that and that. So hold down shift. I don't think we'll use that. We'll just leave that there for the moment, and we'll select just all the dots on the top layer. Now there's our fence. She's a big fence, but that's what we wanted. I think if we wanted to scale it, we'd have to remember to bring in our cap. There's our cap right there, and we would have to scale that and the fence at the same time. Otherwise we'll end up with a wrong size cap. But I'm going to shift click on that cap layer that's sitting off on the right, that set of layers. That's going to deselect that one but keep everything else. What do you reckon about the size of the enclosure? Have a look at the picture. Where is it? Down here. Do you reckon it's big enough? I think it is. I'm just going with it. If we want to change it later, that's fine. So that is more or less our setup. We're going to get some more ground plane in underneath the fence later on. We don't need all this fence over here, so I'm going to select the fence and I'm going to take the count down. We might move it up later, but when we're moving that, we're going to be in edit mode on the Bezier curve. We're going to be, if I just select it and go edit mode, going to be working with these sort of handles to lift up and on a hill behind the enclosure, but right click, let that snap back. I just moved my cursor. I don't like moving my cursor. I've got to put it back in eventually. Alright, so we'll leave that fence alone for the moment. It'll be in shot. I think I might scale this ground plane if I go out of edit mode. There's the curve. Select that ground and S to scale and take it right up. So it's, for the moment, it's taking into account the fence. And the fence is there. And if I just go 0 on my number pad, that is not where I want my camera. I'm just going to move the camera for a moment. It's a while before we actually get any render out, but I'm going to open on this one here, lock camera to view while in camera mode. So I press circle to get into camera mode. And now, as I move my view, I'm just going to go about, I want the door. I want to get as much of our hard work in as possible. Alright, I think that looks pretty good, because the fence, it might go up a bit later on, but let's get the roof. The roof, there we go. We can't see. I'm just positioning it here so that I get, like we modelled that, so we may as well be able to see it We got the stairs there, those stairs, everything in order. We modelled the roof, we've got that. We might make some changes there later. It's not much going on underneath this platform, but we could put some bars in there or something like that, because it doesn't seem to like a platform would just be sitting out there without any sort of support. I notice in the picture there's a lot more bars up the top, but also the lights and things. But at the moment I'm just going for a final render, see what we can get out here and see if we can make it look good. So I'm going to go, first of all, unselect that one. That leaves our camera right where we want it. And I'm going to close that up because we're going to need some room. That was 7 on the number pad. That's that side. Alright, we're out of camera mode, so it doesn't matter. First of all, let's have a look at some colour. Now, I'm going to put a couple of materials in. Here we are at 15 minutes, so we'll do 15 minutes worth of texturing and see what we can do. What we're going to do is we're going to put some metal textures to these. We're going to make that look like metal, and these bars along here and that rail along there, that's going to look like metal. If we look at our reference picture, it looks like that's, you know, sort of blue metal and a bit shinier over here with that, but we might keep the same. That's a dark metal fence. This is sort of the same blue as the bars here, that are the big bars, this big girder underneath the platform. We've got some concrete texture on that wall there, that fence, and we've got some browner concrete down there. We've also got some very faint bricks and not much going up on the roof. Maybe some tiles. Maybe we can put something in, try and be a bit creative with that one. But it probably will look out of place, but we'll do the best we can. These guys didn't do much with it. They left it as white. That's not much at all. We're going to be a lot more impressive than that. Anyway, let's go back to our object. I think first of all, we should start with the ground plane, because this will really make it come alive. Once you see the ground, it's going to be fantastic. So we're just going to do the sand here. This is our flat plane. We'll scale it in and out later on, but it's the sand. And for our texture for that one, we're going to be using, I'll just show you, this sand texture here. Now, what you do is you take a picture like this and you project this image onto a surface in Blender. And in order to do that, you have to tell Blender where the edges are, because it doesn't really know. So I'm just going to squeeze this window up here. Now another thing, we might even not get to this in this lesson, but I'll do it tonight. I'm just going to talk also about windows, because you've seen at school the number of windows that the guys will open up and not be able to shut. So I'm just going to show you some stuff, because we're going to work in 2, maybe even 3 different areas of Blender tonight. We're going to need to have a window for all of these areas. Now this view, this 3D view, becomes less important in this process, so we'll have a small one of these ones, but what is important is the pictures we're working with. So if I hold my cursor on those 3 white lines up in the top right hand corner and I drag down, I split my view. And it replicates the view you're splitting. So now I've got a 3D view up here and a 3D view here. But I don't want to, so I need to change it to what I do want. Now over here, this is, and I'm sure you've seen it before because we've worked with this stuff, this is our 3D viewport chooser. Where do we want to go? And this window's got one, and this window's got one, and this window down here, which is our timeline, it's got one too. So what we want to do, it's also interesting that that's one there and that's one there. These are all just parts of Blender that you can put anywhere. If I wanted that list of things to be a big list across the front here, I'd just choose, what do we want? Outliner from this menu here. Yeah, I'm not going to choose Outliner because I don't want the Outliner, but there it is, Outliner. We want the UV image editor because we're working with images and we're working with the UVs of the object. Now, what I should do one day is Google what UV means. And I think I did one day, but I can't remember what it actually means. What it means to me is take a photo or tell me the size of the object, because you unwrap an object. You unwrap the UVs just like we use when we make a net, in school. We'd cut out the shape of a cube and there'd be 6 faces, and then but you know exactly what I'm talking about because you do so much of it. Imagine a cube unwrapped into a flat plane, because we'll be working in 2 dimensions with this. So I'm going to choose that one. That's the one I chose, which was, sorry, I did that quickly, UV Image Editor, and I changed it to this, and it looks really plain, but that's because we don't have any pictures in yet. I'm just going to scroll back, and you can see that what we've got here is just a flat board that we're going to put pictures on. But what pictures, and how do we add them? We can open an image over here, but that won't necessarily put it on an object. What we want to do is, first of all, we want to give an object a material and put an image into that material. Make that material an image. To do that, first of all, we need to unwrap it, like I was saying. So I'm going to right click on our object and go into edit mode. And in edit mode, we see all our faces, and it's the faces that we unwrap. I'll just pull this up a bit. So we want, let's go, oh wait on, I was doing the ground plane, wasn't I? Oh, nice and simple. Okay, I'm going to go back out into object mode, select my ground plane, and go edit mode. Now I've got one big face, and this is going to be so easy. So easy with one big face. We go with our mouse here. We can go, what do we go? Mesh, unwrap, where is it? Oh no, UVs. We've got this new menu. I'm just going to really push this up. One of these is going to make it go. There we go. We can go shading and UVs. This tab underneath create. So let's go there. Here we have unwrap. Now, it's U for unwrap, and I've always pressed U because we never used to have this. You had to know it was U. But we've got unwrap here. We've got our face selected. Make sure we've got a face selected. See, one of one faces selected. And what do we press? We go unwrap. And all we have to do for this one, because it's a flat plane, it is so simple. We just click unwrap. And what we have done is we have put we're going to need to put a material to this object before I can show you. So let's go over to our panel over here. In our materials circle, we need a new material. There are no materials at the moment, so we go that, and plus sign, and we go new. Now what that does is it puts a white material, and all just went white because that's the default. Just puts a white material there. We don't want a white material though. We want sand. That one right there. So we're going to, and that's, for me, that's located in My Documents, Blender, Tutorial Files, Textures. But for you, it will be located in this lesson folder, the same folder that you got. Well, it'll be a Textures folder inside the folder that has your video. So you just got to remember what your drive is that your USB is plugged into. Could be J. At school it's J. And we'll see how we go. Alright, so stop talking and start doing. Let's put a texture to this. So instead of color, we don't want default white, we want a texture for color. So I'm going to select that, press on that circle there, and choose from this image texture. Image texture. Now, it just went purple. Also going to change the name. I'm going to call this sand. Now this is very important because you will have lots of materials, and if they are just called material 1, material 2, material 3, material 4, which is what the Blender will do, you need to know which material's which, otherwise you'll never know what, when you're trying to, you got a metal texture, you got a metal material, you'll want to put everything metal, but you'll have to go through every material looking for it, and you'll be turning metal to sand and metal dirt and grass and wood and things like that until you finally see it and go, that's it. So we call it sand because it's sand. You can type it in there or press enter or double click up here and type it in there. Always a good idea to do straight away. So it's purple because we've got no texture. If I'll show you this, let's go to, what is it, material view. So this is where we go wireframe or solid. Let's go material view. And we can't see anything at the moment because we haven't put anything in there, but we go open. Now I'm going to go into, we're in tutorial files, I go textures, and now I can't see which one it is. I know it's soil beach, but if you want to be able to see a picture of your pictures, your textures, hit that 4 squares there, those 4 squares. I'm going to learn how to keep it on those 4 squares one day because I do it every time I open this. On those 4 squares, now I can see my pictures and I know that's sand. So you can view it in all different kinds of ways up here. That's good for me. You also see I've got some trees up there that we're going to look at a little later on, perhaps in the next one. So that's my one right there. I've selected my sand and I click open image. I can just double click on it. And there you can see what I'm talking about. We have put sand on our base and it's unwrapped. I'm going to show you something up here. If I click on this one, so at the moment it wants to show us a render result. If we rendered a picture, it'd show up here. We want to go soil beach. We've just loaded it. They're the only 2 options. That's it. So I clicked right there next to the words render result. And now I can see my picture here. What I can also see are these things. These vertices and edges in between. If I want to select vertices, again, with just like with the down here where I go vertex, edge, face, I go vertex, edge, face, right here. And I can select them and I can move them. So I'm just going to select a vertex here, edge here, and if I move it, now here's a problem. I don't have any bars. I don't have these things, the things to move things around. We usually use those. In order to do this, we have to press G. I remember saying in a previous tutorial that G is how everybody moves things around because it's a shortcut key. So I'm going to press G and I'm going to move it. And you can see underneath, you can see how the texture moves because as I move this along, it's repositioning the UVs. These are the UVs I'm editing. So when we unwrapped it, we just created a flat plane. Now I'm going to press right click to let it snap back rather than left click to confirm my move, and just Control Z if you get into any dramas there. I'm going to actually know what we're going to do, because see how big these ripples are? Like those ripples should be tiny. This is sand. It's like at the beach, and I imagine a footstep would be about that big. And that's the problem with textures. But this is a seamless texture. This texture, no matter how many times you repeat it, it will always appear as if it never stops. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'll put my mouse up here where I've got my UVs. I'm going to press A for all. Oh, once I press A, it deselects everything, then selects everything, so A twice. But I'll just unselect everything, hold my mouse up here, B for box select, and select all my edges, faces, vertices, doesn't matter. Or I could choose faces and select faces, or just unselect. There, faces, because I've got a little dot in the middle. Select everything. I don't know why I didn't do it the first time. And now, rather than move my UVs, I'm going to scale my UVs. I'm going to make it so that this texture repeats constantly and is really small. And to do that, we just S to scale. And what it does, even though our UVs, you would think that this would be black, but what happens with the UVs is it just repeats. If it can't find a picture, it starts at the beginning. over here. And as we scale, it will continue to do that. And you see a bit of repetition there with the dots, but when I go in like this, actually I'm not very happy with that. I'm going to go down a bit. Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? Maybe I'm not happy with it at all because it is definitely got a big dark spot there. Alright, I don't know. It's alright. I'm just going to scale it this way. Like that. See, I don't notice it as much there. When I'm looking straight down at it, it feels like, look at this. That looks repeated. There's a dot, there's a dot, there's a dot. But when we go camera view, so I'm sorry, I should have told you I was in camera view. I just jumped down to camera view very quick. 0 on your number pad. I can't see the dots there. And I can see the fence in the background. I'm not very happy with the fact, I can't see it on camera. That is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. And that is a very good way to put on textures. Next, actually, that's 30 minutes. So I'm going to stop here and I'm going to start again very, very soon and talk about the textures for the bars, because half an hour is good and that's a good lesson. I'm happy with that. If you can put that together, you're an absolute champion, because the next one will be a lot more simple, but it'll be a different way to add, what do we call it? Materials, not so much textures, because we're going to make metal. We don't need metal textures. All right, I'll stop this here and start again soon.